back. I'm Tedward, and welcome to my Porsche 911 Carrera. This is a 1988 3.2 Carrera with a G50 gearbox. It's been done up a little bit, and those of you who've been old school channel members for a long time know this car pretty well. This is one of the first things that really got me started filming cars, but you know, it's a bit of an RS tribute, and it's great for me because although I do get to drive a lot of wild stuff, this one is mine, and it kind of acts as like a true north for what a raw old school driving experience really is. So let's get it started up. It's going to take a minute to warm up all this oil. It's something like 11 or 12 liters. Oh yes. Let's back this out of the garage so we don't stink it all up. And every time I back this car out of anywhere, I always check for little drips and leaks, and so far, so good. The Honda is a pretty raw, exciting car, but it's modern. It's got all kinds of nannies in it. It's all computers, but it's pretty much as good as it gets for 2024. This, however, is just such a different experience. It's angry, it idles, grunty, and I think it's just got a lot more style than anything new. And I think had I sold this a couple years ago, I would have really regretted it because there's nothing that's come out that has made me that excited. I review a lot of new cars, and I think it's important to give consumer advice to people who are in the new car market. But I think I have the new car that I want or that I can afford. Whereas with this, I don't see any way of replacing this with anything new that's under, $300,000. You'd have to put me in a McLaren in order to give me sort of the fizz that this thing does. I've got the harnesses in the car, but I usually just use this because the problem with the harness is that it doesn't give, right? So yes, this is gonna lock if it hits, but a harness on the street with no Hans device, it could snap your neck if you get in an actual accident. Let's try to get out of here without getting pelted with acorns. 'Tis the season. Lifting that front wheel. Always babying this gearbox, especially when she's cold. We'll give this cyclist plenty of space. And it's such a narrow car that it's actually really easy to drive on the road because you can choose a line. Like, look, I'm still within the lane and I can move this far within my lane, which is not the case in most cars. I was even driving the Honda the other day home from the gym on kind of a narrow road and realizing, like, that car, tire-wise, is basically only a couple inches from touching the yellow and white line. You know, there's no room between the mustard and the mayo in most modern cars. They're so wide. But you've always got to play this little game of what's my tolerance for a lack of safety when you get into these older cars. I mean, there's people who will drive a Cobra. Okay, that was a little greedy on every end of that. Didn't stop, barely looked, cut me off, and cut them off worse. Just abysmal driving. So it just goes to my point, like, if something does happen in a car like this, how are you going to feel if you are severely injured, right? Because in the Honda, that's a real, normal, modern car with great safety standards. I mean, you could probably roll that off a cliff and be okay. Whereas, like, the threat of accident because of careless driving genuinely, to me, seems like it's growing because everyone's texting and not paying attention. And I do think that there's this attitude toward driving that has become so relaxed because cars seem safer. So people are like, well, I don't really need to pay that much attention because it's not so life or death, despite the fact that I'm pretty sure road deaths are increasing. All I'm asking from you is just pay attention, put the phone down, try to avoid distractions, but don't cut people off. Wait. It's okay to wait. It's okay to wait. Oil temp is alive. That's nice. What the driver swap. There's an episode of Seventh Heaven teaching you not to do that. I think that driver swap might be for the best, considering the way they cut me off earlier. So I'm gonna jump on the highway because we gotta get up to Garage 42. The mission for me today, which is sort of irrelevant for the video, but I'll let you in on it. I'm just taking the Lexus up to Lexus of Watertown to get an oil change. It's 10,000 mile service, which seems insane that I've put 10,000 miles on that GX460 already. But here we are. This car's good. And it's crazy that this car probably tracks straighter than the Lexus. It brings back a lot of memories too. Like, I like driving it because not only is it like, oh, it's a fun car to drive, it also just reminds me of when I was young and brave and maybe a little dumb. And that's nice. That's a nice memory. I want to be a little dumb sometimes. I don't want to be risky, but I want to be a little dumb. So on the highway, 75, this is usually a little optimistic by a couple of miles per hour, 3,200 RPM, not bad. And I know I'm gonna get the slant gauge question. Why on earth are those gauges slanted? Well, it's not like from Porsche that way, it's just a thing people do. It puts red line at 12 o'clock. So it just makes it easier to see the operating range that you would be in on a racetrack. That's it. And then a lot of people will rotate their speedo as well, just to match the gauges, the needles at 0 with the tach. That's it. It's very simple. You don't have to do this. You can love it, you can hate it, but my goodness, every time I get in this car, that is like the #1 comment. And I bet there's already comments about it from people that commented about it before we got this far in the video. All right, I am gonna catch up with you after we get off the highway because this is just gonna be a little boring. All right, I'm pulled over a little early because I just ran over what I think was a little bit of a tire slug on the freeway, and it made a good old thump. Now I just went and looked around the car just for the sake of sanity. Yeah, I don't see anything that is alarming or wasn't previously there, so that's good, and there's no oil or any fluids pouring out of it, so we got away with it. But man, that's what I'm saying. It's like you can't always get away with everything, even when you're driving safely. I'm just cruising in the middle lane at like 72 miles an hour, and you know, some stuff got kicked up from a truck, and I thought I had gotten away with it. I did not see what actually got caught up in the wheel well, but made a good thunk, and I wasn't sure if I was about to see a big dent punched up out of the vehicle from the inside out. Thanks. Thanks. At least people like it. I'm not gonna get in a fight with that dump truck to get out early, so we'll take our time here. Seems good. Nothing to worry about here, I think. I hope. Please. Kind of shocked I'm getting a clear shot at this. Something about just like leaning into a corner in this car that reminds me why I love driving cars. Sometimes modern cars, there's too much going on. There's not much going on in this car. you're just dealing with weight transfer and mechanical grip. And it's so satisfying when it feels like you get it right. Even if you're not going particularly fast, which I don't even want to go particularly fast in this car that much anymore. Because to me, A, it's valuable, and B, I don't need this on the ragged edge to have fun. And that's what's amazing about this car, is that like modern sports cars lack a lot of enjoyment unless you're at like 9 or 10 tenths. This car, I have a lot of fun at like 6 or 7 or 8, and you know, there's a time and a place for everything. And it doesn't mean you have to go do some like wildly reckless illegal stuff every time you hit an on-ramp. It just means like finding my line in this car and actually telling it where I want it to go and ending up in the spot that I intended to be there. It's like playing pool and calling your pocket. It just feels so good when you can place this car where you asked it to go. I usually don't play the rumble strip game, but special moment. We're about to hit 88,000 miles in the car. I think I bought it with 82 or 83,000, so about 6,000 miles added since 2015. But here we go. This is another thing I love about this car, is you get like an old school rolling odometer. So the whole thing moves. It's actually special. It's not just silly digits appearing on a screen. Nice and narrow, that's no factor for us. And sneaking up on our right is garage 42. Isn't it wild? Like, you can't even tell that there's like this giant warehouse of exotic cars back here. Over the moat. And there's a Lexus. Let's see if this is open. Yes. Thank you. Howdy.
Howdy.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. I'll throw it right there. Reverse makes noise in this car. There we go. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Thanks for joining me, hitting 88,000 miles in this car. And now I got to go do some service on the daily driver, the Lexus. Don't forget to respect the drive, and I'll see you in the next one.